1 2 1 2 testing. Hello everyone. It's me being incredibly lazy on a Saturday. So instead of a normal vlog, you're getting like a podcast type thing. But I do think it's like a great way to get my thoughts out, and I did kind of want to do like a little podcast episode anyway, so here you go, I guess. Just a little update though. I was supposed to go to a PR event today, but Zara was not very well and it was like a 2-hour train journey, so I did think, well, if I go and I can't get back, what's going to happen there? She wasn't like drastically ill, but just enough that it could turn. Like, she's been having a bit of flared ribs, so we called doctors, and her nose is really stuffy as well, which I didn't know babies could get colds like that, but apparently they can. So she's been real chesty, so we've been doing her nose sucker and everything, and she seems to be like a little bit better at the minute. Weather was horrible anyway, like terrible. When I looked on the videos, everyone was stood under like a tent because it was actually outside, and it just didn't look very fun, so I'm kind of glad I didn't go. Also, my period is come back for the second time after having Zara, and it's come back with such a vengeance. Like, it's so heavy. My skin is horrendous. You can't see it because I've just ordered a really expensive concealer from Trinny London, and oh my god, now I understand why people pay 40 quid for a tiny concealer. It's bloody great. It's like so thick and it's gone on so nicely. Most annoying thing in the world though, nothing ever fits my skin colour. My skin is so yellow, so everything is either too orange, too dark, or too pink and light. So if you have any good recommendations for a brown girl, let me know. So I wanted to kick off our first little podcast style video with talking about leaving the old version of yourself to start a new life, or to honour the future version of yourself, or the person you are now. Because I do feel like with social media, just everything, the expectations of today, like the overconsumption in everything, like people making you feel like you should be a millionaire by 20, people making you feel like you should have a big massive 4-bedroom house by 20. I just feel like it's so unrealistic, and it instills so many crappy feelings of I'm not where I should be. Like, you don't even realise it. You're walking down the stairs and you're having these feelings in the back of your head, and you're brushing your teeth and you're thinking, oh, I wish I had this and I wish I had that. And it's so bad and it's so toxic, and I think it's worse in the UK now because of how bad the cost of living is. We're seeing online like a big skyrocket of these influencers just pushing out these unrealistic lives, whilst the rest of us are just kind of like stagnant or going down in terms of, you can go to uni now, you can get a job, you will still struggle. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to go into a rant about classism and benefits and all that because I just won't. I just lost my absolute shit with the iPad holder on my bed. As someone who's like struggled with mental illness my entire life on a really bad level, actually, I was having a conversation with Michael the other day, and I was like, I don't actually kind of realise how traumatised I've been in life, and I think a lot of the guilt from talking about that has come from feeling guilty on like my parents, not wanting my mum to feel like it's her fault, not wanting my dad to feel like it's his fault, mainly just that. And also, like, people just normalise so much stuff. But when I think about it, and I was having this conversation with Michael, I was like, wow, I have been traumatised. Like, I always say to people when I meet them, or like when I get close to them, like, there's literally nothing you can't tell me. There's no TMI in our friendship. I will never judge you. Unless you are being a dick, then I'll tell you. But like, boyfriends, emotional trauma, sexual trauma, like, there's literally nothing you can tell me where I'm like, that makes me uncomfortable, because I've been through it all, which is not funny, but like, it makes me a great person to like understand and talk to. Having this conversation, and I was like, no wonder I constantly think about who I was and who I could have been and who I want to be, because there's just so much to emotionally process. And I don't know if you ever forget your past, because people talk about therapy and going to therapy and like processing, but what is processing? Because I feel like no matter what, as humans, we are always going to have an opinion and a feeling towards a situation, no matter what it was. You can put a feeling to everything, whether you're going to the shop, whether you broke up with your boyfriend, whether you had a tiny bit of an argument with your friend. That's just us as humans. We're wired to be emotional beings. So how do you process something? Like, how do you process something? I journal, I go to craft clubs, I romanticize my life, I create content which is kind of therapeutic for me, write poems, I blog. I'm like a big bundle of creativity, and sometimes I still have really bad like PTSD, and sometimes I still cry myself to sleep and flip the fuck out. I'm sorry, but I've been to so many therapists and I've done the work, but I don't know what processing looks like. Like, can we ever process something? As time goes on, I feel like you learn to carry things more. Like, for example, with grief, you learn to carry things as time goes on, but it doesn't necessarily get easier. I've just been thinking recently, like, how do we process things? Or do we kind of just have these solemn feelings on who we were and certain people and situations, and they kind of just get smaller and smaller as the days, months, years go on? A bit of a dramatic beginning, wasn't it? I feel like everybody has this fantasy version of yourself. It's like, unless you have an ego death and you make this like big breakthrough, everyone has a fantasy version about themselves, whether it's super dramatic and you think lots of yourself or you think little. Everybody's got a version of themselves, and I feel like the version of yourself that you were at 16, 17, 18 compared to who you are now, I definitely didn't think that I would be where I am now at 16, 17, 18. As sad as it is, I used to say to my friends, like, I won't make it till 19, 20. It's not going to happen. I remember saying that all the time so vividly, like in my really depressive moments, and I'd make a joke out of it, but it just, for me, I was like, I aren't going to make it till then, and I didn't make a plan or see a future for myself. And back then, I feel like so much of my childhood was taken away from selfish people, traumatic situations, nasty friendships. And then due to that, I think I was so emotionally dysregulated that I made my own life worse, and I will 100% take accountability for that. I made my life worse when it shouldn't have been, but I do think a lot of adults treated me like an adult to suit them because of how emotionally mature I was, because of the trauma I'd been through as a child to a teenager. And so they treated me as an adult when it suited them, when really I should have been helped. So when I look back at that version of myself, I feel like a really deep, solemn and hurt inside my chest, because I just want to scoop myself up and give myself like a massive hug, and it makes me feel like shit to know that there was so many people around me at that time that could have helped me and didn't. I thought at like 18, 19, 20 I'd be in a completely different position to where I was, but I don't quite know what that position was. I have a lot of feelings for who I used to be, but I think even at the time when I was that person, I didn't have a clue who I was going to be. Now it's completely different. So how do you mourn who you were and who you could have been if you were helped a little bit more to kind of navigate in your life now and your struggles to who you're trying to be, if that makes sense? Like, I feel sad all the time that if people had just given me more help, I could have probably thrived, been in a million times better situation than I have been the past few years. I could have dodged so many bullets and crap things that I've had to struggle through. But you can't spend your entire life looking back and dwelling on what would have been, what could have been, what would have happened. But I do think that it is very, very difficult when you've been through a lot of traumatic situations, shitty friendships, etc., to not. But day to day, generally, I think I do a pretty good job of romanticising my life, making my days better, trying to make my future better. And the biggest obstacle for me day to day isn't, oh, I wake up every day thinking about what I could have been. No, for me, it's my mental health issues that I've developed because of not getting help and being traumatized as a child and a teenager from like bullying and stuff like that. When your brain is constantly put on a path of emotional dysregulation, like kids are bullying you one day, being nice to you one day, tugging on your heartstrings the next day. Like, people were horrible to me at school. It was like, and now I look back and think, I wish I would have just some people in the face. But I wasn't like that as a child. I was really soft, and it really affected me. Like, I have feelings of being 6 years old, 7 years old, and feeling this like impending doom, like we shouldn't be watching the telly right now, something bad's gonna happen, we shouldn't be sat here, something bad's gonna happen. I was never able to put a pin on that feeling until like literally a few years ago. But when your brain is pulled in so many different directions, when it's still developing as a teenager and a child, and you're not helped, and then as a teenager you start like drinking, and you have emotional relationships and men and boys, and that's a whole other ballpark. When that happens, it's not going to create a problem. Like, there's scientists that literally say traumatic situations for prolonged amount of times will give you brain damage. And I read something the other day which is so depressing, that people with ADHD, which is what I struggle with, have a shortened life expectancy of 10 to 15 years, which I was like, great, I do all this work and then I die. But it's not going to happen. So my life now, I don't wake up every day thinking, oh, who could I have been, blah, 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 blah. I wake up every day with now the struggle of this illness in my brain, and I truly feel and think ADHD is one of the most painful things to live with. It's horrendous. The constant emotional roller coaster, the anger, the irritation, and it shows up in your body when you feel overwhelmed and irritated. Your body jitters, you're anxious, the impulsivity. I've spent hundreds on nights out when I needed to eat the next day. Depression caused by all the other symptoms, because I don't think a lot of people actually struggle with depression with ADHD. It's more like all the symptoms of ADHD cause your life to be so hard and your emotions to be so difficult that you end up depressed. So for me, I'll be fine for ages, and then I go into like a bit of a rut, which I have been for like the past few days, but obviously my period and stuff like that, so you've got to take that into account. It's kind of what I struggle with now. And so I find it difficult to kind of project what my life is going to be like, because so much of my life has depended on how I feel. Like, when I moved to Qatar, and I was so against it, and I hated my parents for taking me, and I struggled so much, people were so different. My dad had to unscrew the lock out of my door, because if I didn't want to go to school that day, I wasn't going. And then I started hiding in the bathroom and locking the door, knowing that he couldn't unscrew that because it was like bolted in. But even now, I really struggle to put myself in situations where I wake up that day and I couldn't think of anything worse. And I don't understand it still. I don't. I could wake up and want to go somewhere and then have it planned for the next week, and if I wake up and the vibes are off, I'm not feeling like socialising, my clothes are too tight, like all of that stupid shit, I couldn't think of anything worse than going. Like, it panics me to think of going somewhere when I don't want to go, and that's why I've been pushing myself to go places like the craft club and the book club and things like that, because I love it and it makes me feel wholesome after. But there are some days where I know it would just make me feel worse if I went. So how do you like plan a future and navigate a future when you deal with such an emotional roller coaster in your brain? First of all, I think you just have to have a little bit of discipline. You have to have a little bit of discipline and a little bit of accountability, because if I'd have just let myself go off the rails after all the things that have happened and finding life difficult, I just think I wouldn't be anywhere. And one thing that has saved me, which unfortunately not a lot of people have, which I don't understand how people don't have it, but there are some idiots that don't have it, and you meet them and you're like, oh my God, is self-awareness. Like, I am so self-aware, it's insane. And I have like triages with therapists. They're like, oh, no thoughts of killing yourself. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, what? Can I ask what would stop you? And I'm just like, I'm too self-aware. Like, I just regret it 10 seconds later, as depressed as I am. I think taking it day by day and romanticising the little things, because when I started to come over the hurdle when I was a teenager of like, okay, life can be good, I just romanticised the shit out of my life. I was the cringiest motherfucker ever. I still am. But it's my social media and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But I used to post the cringiest women empowerment quotes ever. But it actually helps me. I used to bombard myself day after day after day. I had a horrendous car accident at 17 where my car flew off a cliff that I was in. Everyone was okay except me. I don't know how. I think they jumped out. But I just remember being in the air and next minute the car had smashed and rolled. It was so bad. I'll have to put a picture here. After that, I was bedbound with a broken arm, scratched up, bruised up. And I just remember thinking, I'm having my first mental health appointment. I'm having medication. I'm going to turn this around. I'm fed up now. And at a certain point, you do get fed up. I find it difficult to have empathy for people who are now 23, 24, 25 and still not fed up of their own misery, because I think when your frontal lobe's developing and you're still sat there moaning but you don't want to do anything with your life, you need to grow up. And this is coming from someone who was chronically depressed, ate too much, didn't eat, wanted to die all the time, overdrank, pissed off for days without coming home, would be up for days because of how crazy my brain was. It was an absolute mess, and I still pulled myself around, and even now I can't let myself get into that state. Like, it's my responsibility to not do that for other people, for my mum, for my dad, for Michael, for my daughter now. But I remember sitting there thinking, I'm not going to sit here and continue this. And it was very, very hard for a 16, 17-year-old to do that. A lot of people, when I look back, wouldn't have done that. But I bombarded myself with these positive quotes. I was uploading on Instagram every day these positive quotes. And it infiltrated my mind. And I read this book called, and I talk about this so much, this book, The Untethered Soul. I think it's by Michael J. Singer or something like that. And this book talks about your unconscious mind and your conscious mind. And this like unlocked something in me. And since then, I've literally never been the same. And it talks about how you think your mind is two. There's the good part and the bad part. It's not, it's one. You need to start training that voice in your mind. Sorry, not training. You need to take control of the voice in your mind and start being kind to yourself and being intentional. And since I read that book, I no longer look at myself and go, oh, I look real fat today, or I look real ugly today. Okay, yeah, we're humans. I might be like, oh God, I feel like a proper tramp. Oh, like I don't look as put together as good. But I will never look at myself in the mirror, no matter how fat I do get, because let's be honest, I put a shit ton of weight on since I've had baby, and go, oh my God, I'm so fat and ugly. It's not happening, because then it creates a reality for yourself where you feel like you can't progress, you can't get better, you can't do anything. When you're going, I'm shit at this, I'm rubbish at this, don't do it, because you are literally training, you're manifesting bad things for yourself. Be intentional in your brain about your reality. And since I read that book, I have been. And little things like that have stopped me from going into such a bad depression. Don't get me wrong, I've still gone into some, because it's just the brain I live with, and I know that it will be like that. These things do matter. And I get so annoyed when I meet someone who literally does nothing to help, and then when you give them the things to help, they just don't do it. Because no medication or therapy in the world is going to fix your brain. And that's coming from someone with a horrendous mental illness, or 2 or 3, who's been on every medication in the world. who's been in and out of hospital, like, it's just not going to work unless you want it to work. And I think so many people are so comfortable in their misery that they don't know who they will be without it. So they would rather sit and have the comfort of something to complain about, because it becomes a safety blanket. The anxiety, the sadness, it becomes a safety blanket for you to do nothing with your life, feel like crap, then go out there, do better, try, and get rejected because the ego can't handle it. I think people create this fake scenario and image of themselves, like I said, going back to the beginning. It makes it harder for you to plan your future, forgive the past version of yourself, and let things go, because you're still harbouring all that resentment and sadness and crap. But there are things you can do. You just have to want to do it. Helps to do little things so that you can get there. Like in the morning, romanticize your coffee. You don't have to have money to do these things, by the way. Romanticize your cup of tea. One thing I do every morning, which if I don't do it, if I don't do it, I'm not sitting downstairs. I'll go in another room. If the blinds aren't open and letting through the flood of natural light in the daytime, I'm not sitting in that living room. I'll go sit in the garden. I'll go stand in the kitchen. I would rather stand in the kitchen, but I have to have those blinds open, and it actually upsets me when someone closes the blinds, because natural light, vitamin D, is so good for you. These are all free things. Have a cup of tea outside, even if you sit on your doorstep. Go for a walk down the street. Go to the shop. You don't have to buy something, or you could buy like a 50p chocolate bar or a quid chocolate bar, whatever. Go for a run, or just set yourself a step goal and just go walk around for those steps. Pull something in. Do some yoga. Go to the gym. I prefer to do home workouts because the gym for me as an ADHDer, one task is never just one task. It's like, to go to the gym, I have to get dressed, then find my earphones, then walk to the gym, and then do my workout, and then come home, and then cook tea, and then I have to get a shower because I stink from the gym, and it's just not worth it for me. So I'd rather just have the equipment and do it at home, which I do. But these are all free things that you can do to alter your reality, and then eventually help yourself to build a better you. So that's how I feel like holding on to a fantasy like that can just completely halt your growth, whether it's a fantasy about who you could be and just being comforted by the potential, or the fantasy of just staying miserable because it's comfortable. And that sounds like so silly, but people do fantasize about depression and mental illness, and they love to be in that realm because it's comfort. Touch on starting over, especially now I've just turned 24, which I am like, ooh, I'm still 19. I'm still a 19-year-old teenager, please. Scary for me. I do kind of think the past few years is when I've started to kind of live life in a healthier way, maybe even the past year. And so much of my life has been a blur that now I'm panicking because I'm 24. But I wanted to talk about normalizing starting over, because so many people are ashamed by this. So many people don't want to start over. They'd rather do nothing than start over, which I think is crazy, because most of the reasons why people don't want to do this is because of what other people might think or say, or their ego. But when I was in uni, I was in a terribly abusive relationship. I chose the wrong course, and student finance wouldn't fund me because I'd been out of the country. So that set me back quite a lot. And then I really struggled with my mental health again. I went back to college when I first moved back to the UK. And then last year I completed my foundation course, and I'm now going to start a completely new degree. And I just don't think there's any shame in it. Like, I've just gotten my ADHD medication, and for the first time in my life, my brain switched off, and I cried because I didn't know life could feel like that. And it makes me really upset, because I've just lived life on hard mode from the moment I've woken up to the minute I've gone to bed. And like I said, I feel sad for that girl who didn't get help from anybody. But it made me so emotional because I was like, oh my God, I can just get up when I want to get up instead of preparing myself for 10 minutes to get up. I can go brush my teeth, get changed, then go out instead of taking the piss for 6 hours downstairs, procrastinating. I can do the washing. I can film a video. Like, this is not normal to me. I literally sat down the other day after taking them and wrote a full blog post. I haven't written a blog post in a year, maybe, a year, about 15 months, 12 months, because my brain just doesn't compute anymore because it feels so fried, especially from social media and scrolling. Like, my dopamine receptors are so fucking fried that I literally can't write anymore. And that was getting me so upset because I'm a writer. I've loved to write since I was little. I used to get pieces of paper, put it in a book and write stories. I have my blog because I love to write, and it's how I processed a lot of my trauma, by writing about it and turning it into something beautiful through words. And when I realised, oh my fucking God, I can't write anymore, I was like, something needs to change. So luckily I've got my medication, but also now that my medication has made me more clear-minded, I've kind of realised how bad and how much my phone is affecting my ADHD. So many people don't want to have this conversation, but your phone is frying your dopamine receivers and you need to get off it. I've set myself a new goal now, putting my phone in the desk room downstairs in my office room before bed. Do all my scrolling, get it all out my system downstairs. When I'm coming up to bed, it's going in the desk room on charge. I've got an alarm clock here that's like a summer alarm clock, a winter alarm clock, where it wakes you up with like flashes of light. Slowly it gets lighter and lighter like daylight, and I'm about to get a blackout blind, so that will be great. And it wakes you up with bird song. I'm sorry, what do you mean my cortisol isn't spiking first thing in the morning with ding, ding, ding? So many people don't realise Apple alarms, Samsung alarms are literally made to make you panic. And you wonder why you don't want to get up in the morning. Wonder why when you hear that alarm, when you're not in bed, you go like, whoa. They are made to spike your cortisol levels and make you panic in the morning so that you get up. But for me, that literally doesn't work. I'll turn it off and go back to sleep. You need to invest in your mornings and your nights 100%, and I've just realised like I need to start taking this seriously and I also stopped using ChatGPT because it was frying my brain. Like, not being able to write, I think, was a combination of ChatGPT the past 2 years and doom scrolling on my phone all the time, and obviously being unmedicated. But now I'm starting to put my phone in my desk room, and I've got that alarm clock, so it wakes me up with birdsong or waves or something like that, and it's kind of like harder to turn off because I actually don't even understand the buttons. I just kind of like fiddle around until I find something and it goes off. Now I can do stuff. I don't have shame in going back to uni because I literally imagine an ADHD brain with assignments when you can't even like fill out a form sometimes because there's so many mental blocks. It was horrendous, and a course I didn't even like. So I'm so proud of myself. Last year I passed with flying colours, and in school all my assignments, all my subjects, they used to say, you're so good in this but you're so bad in that, and it was like maths because my brain hated math type things. Anything that was like symbols and things like that, I'd literally look at the board and then look away and then look back and it'd be like Chinese. But like English and psychology and stuff, I'd be like A's and B's and stuff like that. So I'm so proud that I'm going back to uni when I have a functioning normal brain. Like, why would I be upset about that? And I think people need to stop being so, and it's easier said than done, but why would you care? Like, you know your struggle. Why the fuck would I care? Like, I've literally lived life on hard mode and I still passed. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do even better, and I'm going to build a better life for myself. I've legitimately seen people not do things because they're scared of what people are going to say. They're scared of the 5-second ridicule. People care more about themselves more than they care about you. Reflection of themselves as well. They say this shit to you because they would never have the courage to go back, and they're miserable in their own lives. So they would rather take the piss out of you and then rather than go do something for themselves. Sad to see people legitimately not grow just because they can't be bothered listen to a little bit of shit for 5 seconds from people that literally are not going anywhere in life. People reinvent themselves constantly that we follow online, like celebrities, singers, artists, like all these people. So why do we accept it when it's multi-billionaires that contribute nothing to your life completely, but you won't support your friend or your neighbour or your dad or your mum or your brother or sister who wants to start again to better their lives? Yes, it's very difficult and it can be scary, especially if you've got a house or like payments and bills and things like that. It can be scary to go back and study when you thought you would be in a completely different place to what you are in. But, and I live by this, time is going to pass no matter what. It's going to pass. So you can be here in a year and still be umming and ahhing and basically in the exact place monetary wise, mindset, emotionally. Or you can be a year later, a year closer to being more financially stable, emotionally more regulated because you're going to be more financially stable and stable in your life, and a qualification or a new job or just something you're passionate about. So it's up to you really. But I just think don't let other people make you feel like it's the wrong choice to start over, especially if you know and you're passionate that you want to do that thing. Just because your original plan failed, that's fine. Plans change all the time. Like literally plans change all the time. And healing and growth, which you see everywhere. You always see these quotes. Healing and growth isn't linear. Like it's not. Nothing is. It goes forward, it goes back. Like the economy goes forward, it goes back. It goes forward, it goes back. Everything. That's just the way of the world. It goes forward and it goes back. Maybe our economy is going back a lot at the moment. Yeah, like start asking yourself, who do I want to be instead of who was I supposed to be? Because even if you're not actively asking it in your head, so many people have this mindset of, oh, but I wanted to do this and now I'm doing this. Well, you can change your reality to fit what you want to do. Nothing is impossible. But you just have to do it and you have to work hard enough to want to do it. So got to give yourself grace and be realistic and do the things, like I said, to make you romanticize your life, because everybody deserves to love their life no matter what. Everyone deserves to wake up and enjoy their existence, and I worked so hard to get there because I genuinely used to wake up and hate my existence. And I can't even explain to you why. There was just like this big cloud raining down on everything. And even sometimes now I get those moods where it's that doom feeling of like, I shouldn't be in this house right now, in this spot. I don't want people to talk to me. Like, it's such a weird feeling. It's like a disassociative doom feeling, and I to this day still do not know how to tackle that because it completely takes over your being. But everyone deserves to enjoy their existence, and I'm not even going to say be happy because that's so cliche, but you deserve to get up and feel excited for your coffee and know that today is going to be good no matter what, and you're starting that course next week, or you know, enjoy handing in, well, no one enjoys handing in assignments, but at the end of some of my assignments, I would like light a candle, get a shower, make myself an iced coffee and write it, and then I'd feel so accomplished after, because, and I would actively say to myself, like, I'm one step closer to my future. And some days are absolutely crap, and that's fine. Do little things every day that make it easier for you when you do have one of those days. Create peace instead of perfection, and you will enjoy your life so much more. Like, it makes me sad, emotional, happy to talk about this because I'm so proud of myself that I was able to do that. And to this day, it's still a struggle. Like I said, I actively deal with like a few mental illnesses that make life actively difficult, and it is actually a constant battle every day to not let it win, which is why I get burnt out so easily. I need a few days to recover, because it's like the clock resets and it's the battle every single day. I can do it, and because I manage to do that for myself and I still do it every day, it does make those down days a lot easier. But yeah, I'm gonna stop gabbing now, because I just won't shut up, and I'm really bored of the sound of my own voice. My back's starting to hurt, my head's hurting because they're digging into these lights. Also, I'm hungry. Since I started this medication, my appetite has been down the drain. I'm on a fitness plan anyway, so I'm in a calorie deficit and like moving a lot more. But I'm actually a bit worried now, because I've lost so much weight this week / half of the week before, that when I start eating again properly on this plan, I'm probably going to put it on. Not good, by the way, don't do that, please. It's helpful for like cravings and stuff, but Elvance, which is the ADHD medication I'm on, it completely fucks your appetite. Like, I'm trying to have breakfast and I'm like, ugh, ugh, and Michael's looking at me like, what the hell? Honestly, I had a bacon bagel the other day, and I was like, this is genuinely, it feels like I've eaten up to my neck and I'm forcing food down. Horrendous. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. Love you, bye.